If you want to materially increase your business chances of success, you've got to have financial control of the business. The first, simplest key part of that is tracking what's going on in your business. We've got a simple spreadsheet we're going to run through today, showing at its most basic form what you've got to do. We're going to make it downloadable, run through an example. So let's get started, and I'll show you what you need to do. Welcome back to the Basics of Business channel, everybody. As I say, today we're just going to run through the simplest element of getting financial control of your business, and that is tracking what's going on. And Neil, one of the easiest ways to do it, we don't even need a spreadsheet. The simplest way to do it is just...
Yeah, well, the most basic record is having details of what's going in and out of your bank account. And you could just download your bank statements and you could then just make notes. That money that went into the bank account, it was a sale from this customer or whatever it was. The money going out, just, making a record of it was to pay the rent, it was to pay the insurance, it was whatever. And you would just have it as a very simple annotation of what has actually gone through your bank account. What we're going to do is now go on to and show you a spreadsheet of a simple cash book. We've got an up-to-date version of a cash book using an Excel spreadsheet, which I'm going to do a screen share now and run through that with
an example. And we're going to make this a downloadable spreadsheet. We're going to build on it as the weeks go by, showing you more elements of tracking, etc. But this is step one, cash book. Let's get started.
So there we go. So on the left-hand side, you have what's coming in. On the right-hand side, what's going out. At its most basic, the information that you ought to be tracking or ought to be capturing, so that you've got, as I say, the simplest sort of record. So money that came in, what date did it come in? Where did it come from? How much did you receive? If you're VAT registered, then you would want to keep a record of the VAT that was there. If it was a net sale, there, and if it isn't sales, what else is it? So you'd want to have a record of what were my sales, what were other things, a loan receipt, you put your own money in to fund the business or whatever. That, we're going to come on to the amount of detail. You could have lots more columns. So you might want to have a column for consulting work versus selling an actual product, or if you maintenance work versus selling the actual piece of kit, if that's what you were doing. So you can expand this and make it more complicated, but the minimum information I would say is that. All right,
perfect.
Then on the payments, again, the absolute minimum information would be the date you made the payment, who you paid it to, how much did you pay them, if there's VAT, what VAT are you going to be able to claim back and reduce, so therefore what was the net cost. And again, that is too simplistic. I wouldn't recommend this as a system, but at least you are tracking what came in, what went out, and have you got money left over? Yeah, and I suppose if your business is so simple that you're just selling your own time and there aren't really any costs or very much, this might be enough. And as I said, you could just download your bank statements and you could turn them into something like this, because on your bank statements, one side shows money coming in, the other shows money going out. They usually come in two different columns, don't they? So you could be doing that. And as I say, at least you are keeping a record of what it is. And at the end of each month, you could total it up, or at the end of the year, you would total up. And this spreadsheet would then give you the basics of being able to complete some accounts, file a tax return, whatever it might be, because you would just have the total of that column is my sales figure, the total of that column is my costs. If it's a simple business, you can put that on your tax return and do some accounting.
So if we fill just some in now, and then we can come to sort of the more granular stuff that we probably recommend as
yeah. Well, what I would say is what I've done here. If I could just expand that. So what we've done here is said on the payment side, actually, you would usually want to have some idea of where the money is being spent. So I've put some examples in here of we're buying materials, we paid for some travel, we're paying for some IT software, utilities, legal bills, if you've got accountants or bookkeepers, if you're renting space, or I've got travel in there twice. I've then got subsistence, entertaining. So subsistence is where you are buying yourself a sandwich because and a coffee because you're out working at a client's premises or doing something. Entertaining would be where you actually taking a client or prospective client out for a coffee or a meal and whatever. Telephone interest, and then if you're buying capital assets. So the thing there that I would suggest here, so where you've got the same, so the date, so
and you could change these as in more relevant to your business. It's the principle that
the principle of just having it broken down so you would have an idea. But yeah, I think the bit with it, there is no right or wrong. The fundamentals of this is what information will help you understand where you're making or losing money. So very often these days, people sign up to IT software, it's on a standing order or it's on their credit card. And it's amazing how many people don't realize just how much that tots up and becomes. They're paying for Xero, they've got Adobe, they're paying for some other bit of software. And suddenly it's like, oh, that's 300 quid a month that's going out on IT software. Are you sure you need it all?
Yeah,
can you
AI stuff particularly now? People we said ChatGPT, also this AI tool will do this and that, and a few hundred quid out the door.
Very easily, very easy. So I think the headings would be what's going to be useful for you. I haven't got anything in here for wages or subcontractors, but if you're using contractors, to me, you would probably want to know how much that's costing.
We could make column H there, wages. There's 2 travels.
So we'll change that to people. So in case,
and if you were using this spreadsheet, you could just do exactly that. These are the basics. You could change them to what's relevant, exactly the same.
Some people might say, well, telephone, I want to know how much is mobile and how much am I paying for my broadband? Or, you might have it for different, if you've got more than one phone, you've got different staff, you might have a column for how much is John paying, how much am I paying to have John, how much am I paying for myself, or whatever it is. So we've got there. Then in terms of the basics, you put in a date, who have you paid the money to? So let's say it's Transport for London. Code, I'm just going to come back on that in a second. The amount you paid, so I've paid £10 for a tube ticket. There's no VAT because I'm not that registered, or there actually is no VAT on transport anyway. So the amount there is a tenner. Now we could stick in a formula, that minus that, so that you haven't got to type in the numbers, but that's at its basic. So it's Transport for London. We know that's travel. So I want to put it into the travel column. What I've done here is a very simple little tool. So instead of having to type it out if you've got a lot, you just know that that is code B. So if you put a B in there, it comes up with putting it in the right place. So for example, and then the next day you paid to some form of IT. It's a C because it's the IT software. The amount paid is £25, no VAT, £25, and it popped.
And you'll find that VAT number, so an invoice will come through potentially for your ChatGPT and it will tell you on that invoice whether there's any VAT or not.
Correct. It will. So, and that's the next stage is, have you got any backup documents for this? How can you prove you spent £10 on a tube ticket? These days you don't have the tickets, but you'll have it on your bank statement, so you've got that. But if it was a payment to ChatGPT or Xero or whatever, and there is VAT on it, you would only complete the VAT if you are registered for VAT, because the net cost to you is the amount less the VAT, but only if you're VAT registered. Because only if you're VAT registered can you actually recover the VAT that you've incurred. There's other videos around.
Is it be good practice if I got my ChatGPT invoice there and it said 25.5, that's VAT, I'd still put it in, would it?
No,
No.
You wouldn't, because using this spreadsheet, if we went and said, let's keep the math simple, right? 20% VAT on £20 would be 4. So that would be the figure. The cost to you is saying your software is costing you £20, but that is only correct if you can get the VAT back. If you're not that registered, then you can't get the VAT back. So you would ignore it, because the cost to me is £24. And that's what I want to know. So that's what you're trying to track, is what is it actually costing me, the VAT. If you were VAT registered, you would then put the VAT in there. So if you weren't VAT registered, probably just hide that column so that you don't accidentally put it in there. So that would then, and again, at the end of the month, you would have some totals, or the end of the quarter, however often, you would know, oh, this month I spent this much on travel. And then again, if you can say, oh, that's high because last month it was half that. Well, so, oh, it's a good thing because I'm having to go and see lots of people and I'm really busy. And yes, my income has doubled as well. So it's fine. My income hasn't doubled. Why is my travel going up so much? How can I?
And that's where this simple bit of the first step of tracking starts to take you further on to why am I bothering doing that? Because it then makes you understand the business better, and particularly when it's performing well or performing badly, you know why, and you have the numbers to show you why.
Yeah, and the only reason to have this, level of detail of what are you spending it on is so that you can then learn something from it. If not, I don't, knowing how much I spent on travel or IT software or accountants or people or whatever, I don't care. It's all just one figure. Then don't bother. Don't have it. But what I'm saying, what I would say is, the more detail you have, the more better information you'll have, the more informed decisions you'll make. Now, but equally, it takes a little bit longer. You've only got to type the code in there, but it does take a little bit more work to have the analysis. If you are 100% certain you're not going to use it, you don't need it. That's the purpose of these videos, is we're trying to help people make a decision around, actually, I am going to spend a bit more time. I'm going to do it myself. I'm not doing that. I'm going to employ a bookkeeper, but I now can talk to them about what information I want to see if it was weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, whatever. You can start to see what would be involved in you keeping the simplest record, which is just the cash book. It's just a record of how much money did I get in, how much money did I pay out, what did I spend it on. And as I said, you could, if you have different types of sales, you can have different, in the same way as we've got all these headings for the costs, you could have different headings for your sales. Let's say you're selling, I don't know, jumpers. You might want to have size. You might be broken down by size. You might have it broken down by gender. You might have it broken down by color. Again, if that information was going to be useful for how you would make a decision about what you're going to do in the future, for the extra bit of work, it'd be worth doing. But if you're saying they're jumpers, I just want to know how many jumpers are sold, then just have one.
But it's also back to one of the tips we teach, as in doing it regularly, as in means it doesn't become this overwhelming, I've got to do it. Tax is due or whatever, tax return is due, whether it's the company or your own, it just, you're doing it on a regular basis and you're updating these decisions while you think about them.
Yeah, and I think there's two two aspects to it. One would be, I can see how much time and effort that's going to be, and I value my time more than that. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to employ a bookkeeper or accountant, whatever, to do it. Or the other side would be, I actually sometimes when you're doing things, is it gives me that insight, rather than have someone else prepare it and then they send you the spreadsheet once a month. Actually, by filling it in, I've got a better understanding of what's going on.
To your point,
I think,
James, there are 10 IT subscriptions going out.
Yeah.
Entering all those 10 can pay you. There's another one, which unless you've done it yourself, you might not.
You won't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think there is, I'm not saying everyone should do all their own books, obviously, but
you've got to understand it.
Yeah,
you've got to understand it.
Understand it and take a bit of time to look at it.
Okay. So that, just as I say, the biggest single entry that's as simple as this gets from a Cashbook point of view. As I say, this spreadsheet is going to be available with all the various elements that we're going to talk through in this series of videos. So we'll put the link in the description, which you'll be able to see just now, and we'll put it at the bottom of the screen. But as I say, simple bit, just start tracking. It's the simplest way to do it. Download the sheet, and we're going to start another one of our videos. So click on one of those boxes on the screen. As ever, wish you every success with your business journey, and we'll see you in another video shortly.